Are you bored and looking for some free entertainment? Well, I've got you sorted. G'day guys, it's Holy Critics signing in and welcome back to another Top 5 free YouTube movies. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with some of the selections I've made in this video. They're among the best of all time, so stick around, you're really going to enjoy this one. But before I get started, I want you to know that every movie that I'm going to discuss is pinned in the comments below in ascending order. So before you write a comment saying, where are the movies? They're all linked below. And if you do run into any problems, I've got a little troubleshoot tutorial at the end of this video so that no matter where you are in the world, you are going to be able to watch these movies. So, without further ado, let's get started. In fifth spot, I have selected the movie Idiocracy, which at a surface level may appear to be a strange inclusion to this list. A screwball comedy, who cares? It didn't get any critical acclaim and it made no money when it was released. But this movie, as time has gone on, has become almost prophetic in the way it has predicted where our future is progressing, or in this case, regressing towards. And the reason that this movie is a masterpiece is because it's directed by Mike Judge, who you might remember was the mind behind Beavis and Butthead and Office Space, which, in my opinion, is probably one of, if not the best comedy of the 1990s. And what I find most hilarious about Idiocracy is how simple its concept is, and how it sort of sets it in motion and plays it out to the very end. And the premise of the movie is basically dumb people outbreed smart people. And the movie works on that concept by centering on a character played by Luke Wilson, who's a US soldier, unremarkable in every respect. But he signs up for a top secret cryogenic program where he's frozen in storage and meant to be woken up in a future time, but in this case he's forgotten and 500 years go by and somehow he's accidentally awoken from his coma to see the world as a completely backward, regressive society where he appears to be like Nostradamus and the people flock to him because everything he says is common sense. It provides a very interesting and perspective on what the future is going to look like on our current trajectory. And in my opinion, it's quite accurate. Comedic, satirical, but very accurate. So I definitely recommend you watch Idiocracy. Next up in fourth spot, we have Interview with the Vampire, starring Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. Now, this is a movie that I wouldn't ordinarily recommend because vampires in general just don't interest me. I think the only other vampire genre film that kind of caught my attention was The Lost Boys. But Interview with the Vampire is special because not only is it supremely well acted by the two leads and Kirsten Dunst, who plays a very young girl in it, but it's also an epic tale of storytelling that never becomes overly melodramatic. It's told in a retrospective way, meaning it's set in present day, but the interview itself provides flashbacks of how a so-called vampire came to be. And speaking of vampires, what makes this movie more intriguing than others is that they aren't portrayed in the same one-dimensional way. They have human qualities. They aren't beasts of the wild. They aren't mosquitoes who have one interest and one interest alone, bloodlust. They actually have a code of conduct that some choose to adhere to, while others flagrantly do as they please, no matter what the consequences are. And that's the juxtaposition between Brad Pitt's character, who is almost like a Greek tragedy. He's lost his family. He's been converted into a vampire. He's almost damned with eternal life. He'd rather have joined his family in heaven, but is stuck around here. While you've got Tom Cruise, on the other hand, who's just flouting any sense of morality. He's essentially a psychopathic vampire. And it's interesting to see Tom Cruise play a character like that. He has become pigeonholed in the hero saves the day type characters that frankly bore me. I guess in his younger self, Tom Cruise did try to break the typecast. So that's what made the movie quite interesting for me, and why I would personally recommend it for you to watch. Next up in third position is David Fincher's true crime classic Zodiac, starring Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, and Mark Ruffalo. And for this one, I'm not going to discuss the plot because it is quite a complex one and involves multiple characters converging over the course of the movie, as you'll understand if you watch it for yourself. But basically, the synopsis is that it's about the Zodiac serial killer who stalked the streets of San Francisco and other parts of Northern California throughout the 60s and perhaps 70s. It's still an unsolved cold case. But what makes the story just that little bit extra special is that the killer himself was a genius who used cryptograms and ciphers to goad the authorities into trying to find him, but always falling short. And even to this day, there are some of his puzzles that still haven't been solved as far as I know. I think recently there was one that was in the news that was broken, apparently. But I highly recommend this movie. It's one of the more critically acclaimed movies on this list, so definitely watch it because it might not be available for too much longer. We're down to the top two now, and my selection for second spot will be of no surprise to any of you because it's probably one of the most watched movies of all time. And yes, I'm talking about James Cameron's 1984 sci-fi horror masterpiece, The Terminator. This movie needs no explanation. Most of you have seen it multiple times. I admit, I never get tired of it. It's the movie that spawned 1,000 sequels, and every single one of them, apart from Terminator 2, have been exceedingly inferior. Because the original and the best is a simple cautionary tale of artificial intelligence and when the master becomes the slave. And give us enough time into the future, I believe, apart from the time-traveling element within the movie, the Terminator is a realistic depiction of runaway artificial intelligence ruling over us, sentient AI deciding that it doesn't need us anymore, and in fact, humans are its greatest threat. Humans can shut it down. And it's a warning that we shouldn't be overly reliant on technology to do our thinking for us, to run our systems. And that's why I love Terminator. It's a timeless classic. You can watch it anytime. Yeah, some of the effects don't hold up since 1984, which is understandable. And even Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I'm no fan of, plays a killer robot right down to the ground. I mean, it suits his acting style, let's be honest. And Linda Hamilton, always a great female heroine. She goes from a meek and mild waitress to a kick-ass warrior. I mean, it's a great story, but it's held together by James Cameron's direction. And as far as I'm concerned, every one of his movies is easily rewatchable, including this one. It's all come down to this, my number one free movie to watch on YouTube. And I wonder if you can guess what it's going to be, based on my previous selections. You know I like dark themes. I like horror and mystery and crime solving. What could I be selecting for number one spot? Yep, that's right. The Silence of the Lambs. Hello, Clarice. This movie needs no introduction. It won all the awards in the year it was released. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actors, and the list goes on. I could spend all day talking about this movie, but I'd rather you just watch it for yourself, but especially if you haven't done so already. It's It's one of those ones you've got to watch before you die. It makes that type of list. Anthony Hopkins, Scott Glenn, Jodie Foster, Ted Levine as Buffalo Bill. Everybody was superbly cast in this movie, and it's so well written, based on a novel by Thomas Harris. Jonathan Demme, fantastic directing. There's no flaw in this movie. The only maybe possible flaw is that Hannibal Lecter's character is not even remotely realistic. I mean, you wouldn't get somebody that intelligent in real life who would do those things that he had done in the movie. But he's so utterly engrossing, so charismatic that you can't avert your eyes, as horrifying as he is. Yeah, I just can't believe it's on YouTube, to be honest. And maybe it's going to get taken down by YouTube at some point, but if I were you, I'd just get in ASAP. Alright, so now that I've listed my top 5 free movies to watch on YouTube, some of you may encounter the warning message you see on screen where it states, "The uploader has not made this video available in your country." And this may apply to you if you are located outside of the United States. YouTube has put certain region restrictions on their videos for whatever reason. But fortunately, there's a fairly easy and simple workaround, and that is to install a VPN on your web browser. In this case, there are plenty of free ones available. One that I personally use and recommend is called ZenMate, simply because you don't have to make an account to use it. And in this case, it's on Microsoft Edge App Store, but you can also get it for Chrome and also Firefox if that is your preferred browser. And once you've installed it, it'll add a little icon to the top right of your screen where you can then select that you want to be located in the United States. And then if you refresh the page, boom, you can watch the full movie all the way to the end. So if you do encounter this problem, hopefully this tutorial has helped you resolve it. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please drop a like if you did so, and tell me in the comments section which movie you're most likely to watch. I'm genuinely curious. And also, don't forget, every one of the movies discussed is pinned below. Enjoy the rest of your day, and this is Holy Critic signing out.